Or further, Kasalka that hard to be because it says "V'loka hakoy medam achatas betz boy," and the Yalef we learn from the Torah. The Chsiv v'tov lakoy boy hayamanis. Says the Gemara. Have a question. The hare kmitza when it comes to a karb mincha, and you need to do the kmitza, the loy ksivba. All you have in that pasuk is the word koyin. It says in the pasuk, "The havia el koyin." You should bring it to the koyin, and the komatza koyin who does his kmitza. Doesn't say anything about finger, hand, anything. Nothing. We don't have the word yad, we don't have the word but nothing. It just says hakoyin, and we know it has to be done with the right hand. You just said you need both. Here you only have one. Yet we learned kamatz misma apostle. It says clearly if you did commit to the hand of the apostle, so you don't need both requirements. Elamarav, you're right. Oy etzba oy kuna. What Rabbi Khan is saying here is either the word etzba or the word kuna tells you that it's the right. Amalei Abai asks, let me ask a question. So you're telling me if it just says the word koyin, it means the right side. So let me ask you a question. The delivery of the limbs to the ramp to bring it to the Mizbeach at night to burn them. It says the word kuna. How do I know that? It says the pasuk, the hakered, the hakrayim, the innards. It says it says he washed them all out, and then it says he brings the koyin brings it all. So it says the word koyin. And yet it makes not only makes no difference in the system how they brought it up is as follows: the hikter be'omah. This is we say it. So alochas evon lekevish, bringing the evodim to the ramp, and yet he used his left hand. How do I know that? Now we learned he carried haregel shel yamin, the foreleg, the right foreleg of the animal. Bismillah, he put it in his left hand. Ubase oira lechutz, and the incision. So first the hide was. You didn't want the people to see the cut part that looked meus, so you showed them the animal where the hide was still intact, and the cut part was facing the coin, so nobody can see it. So clearly, it says there they use the left hand, and it says hakoyin, but it says hakerokram. It says there he could have hakoyin is hakoyin. So the word koyin, according to you, either koyin or etzva means right side. Says the Gemara. Ki and when we say oy etzba, oy kuna, either the finger or the coin, is bedavar hama'akev kapara. It's only an activity where it's important, vital for the kapara, like accepting the blood or sprinkling mizbech. Dumya de mitzayda, similar to mitzayda. Mashenkein, the delivery of the leftover fat, we learned a few times already. Even if you had no leftover fats, or you didn't bring any up, the animal is still a kosher animal, and it does its kapara. So therefore, there it doesn't matter, right hand, left hand. Says the Gemara, okay, let me ask you a question. What about receiving the blood? It says, Kuhuna. It says by Kabbalah, it says Kuhuna, and Vedavar, it says Hikrivu b'nei Aaron hakoinim. It says Hikrivu b'nei Aaron hakoinim. So they receive the blood there, and it says koinim. The davar hama'akev kapara. We all know that that kapara davar is ma'akev, and we learned. But now we learned in our mission. Kibul is my apostle, but Shimon holds kosher. Okay, the Chacham Tag hold is possible because they hold it has to be the right side. So koinim is enough to say right side. Let's say, but it says also, but Shimon said it's kosher. How can it be kosher? It says hakoinim. So that's not a problem. Rav Shimon argues. Rav Shimon tarti boy. Rav Shimon holds you need koinim and etzba to be right side. The Chacham holds koinim is enough, and we're going opposite according to Chachamim. Says the Gemara, how can that be? Me, boy, Rab Shimon Tarti. Does Rab Shimon really need koinim and saying finger or hand? Let me tell you what Rab Shimon said. It's clearly otherwise. What time we learned in a brayso? Rab Shimon Aimer, kol mokel sheneba yad. Whenever it says the word hand, ein el yamin. I don't have to have the word koin. The hand means right side. Etzba finger, ein el yamin. So etzba finger loy boy kuhuna. Someone answers, you're right. If the Torah says finger, we know it means the right side. But if it says kahuna, we still need finger to tell you the right side. Kahuna boy etzba. And that's why in that pasuk over there, by Kabbalah, it says koinim, but it doesn't say etzba. Therefore, you don't have to have at all the right side, according to Rab Shimon, because you need both, koin and finger. So the obvious question is, finger alone says right side. Koinim alone doesn't. So koinim need finger. So what do we need koinim for? It doesn't add anything. Why would it say koinim at all? And in fact, over here, you don't even need right sides. Why say koinim? Why say koinim? Says the Gemara be kihuna, to tell you the koin has to be wearing his clothes to be a proper koin to make all this work. Says the Gemara, okay, let me ask a question. What about when it comes to sprinkling the blood? So like Kosabahu Ella Kahuna, when it comes to sprinkling the blood, it says Vizarku B'nei Arna Kainim. As Doma, it says you should sprinkle the blood, and Nan, and we learned Zorak Bismoil Pasul, that if you we're talking about other kabbanas, but it doesn't say the word etzba. We already had before where it says the word etzba. Rav Shimon says yes, you have to sprinkle with the right finger. But all other kabbanas doesn't say the word etzba. Rav Shimon should hold that it should it doesn't make a difference, right or left, because it says only the word you say the word koyin doesn't do anything. But now, when it comes to sprinkling by other kabbanas, it says v'zorku b'nei aron hakoyinim. Doesn't say right, doesn't say hand, doesn't say finger, nothing. Just b'nei aron hakoyinim. But now we look at the Mishnah zorak b'smol apostle. If you sprinkle with the left hand as apostle, and nobody argues. That means he agrees when it comes to sprinkling any carbon, it has to be the right side. And the only apostle, the only word that says by the apostle is hakoyinim. And you said before, according to Rav Shimon, hakoyinim does nothing. You need etzba. So how does Rav Shimon doesn't argue? Says Gemara, Amar Abaye, he does. Polig bibraisa. He doesn't argue in the Mishnah, but in the Braisa he does. Time we learned. Kibul b'smoil apostle. If you receive the blood left hand, is apostle of Shimon says kosher, which we already know that argument. And because he says that pasuk is boy is talking about the future of the second half of the pasuk about sprinkling by a chatas, not by receiving the blood. And then it says zorak, sprinkling any carbon b'smoil the left hand apostle. And Rav Shimon Machshir, he argues as well. So that's the question. Rava said, why does the Torah spell out 3 times right by a Mitzvah himself, the leper? It says you have to put in the right earlobe, the right thumb, or the right toe. Each time it says right. Why is it 3 times? Each one is for Gzei Shavah. Yad, why does it say by the hand right? Yad lekmitza, to tell you when it comes to kmitza, it should be the right side. Regel, when it comes to foot, why does it spell out the right side? Regel chalitza. When a woman gives chalitza to her husband, to her brother-in-law who doesn't want to marry her, and removes the shoe and all that, it has to be from the right foot. And oizen, and when it comes to the ear, why do you say right? Oizen, let's see, if a slave wants to remain, a Jewish slave wants to remain beyond 6 years, you pierce the ear on the right side. Now, why do we need it? Why do we need nafka? Since it says the word kohuna is enough. By kmitza it says the word koyin. By kmitza it says the kamatz hakoyin. If it says hakoyin, you say according to chachamim. You said according to chachamim, either koyin or etzba is enough to tell me the right side. So by kmitza it says the kamatz hakoyin. The koyin should be do the kmitza the right side. What do I need to shava yad to tell me that kmitza has to be the right side? What do I need the yad for? Says the Gemara. You're right. But there's 2 parts of kmitza. Chad l'koyim is the actual kmitza, which we'll learn in Gemara Menachos how it's done with the 3 fingers and you break off a piece of the flour offering, and which you then put it in a keli and then you put it on the berch to roast. And the chad l'kiddush kaimitz, because after he puts his fingers in there and he removes a piece of the flour offering, he then has to put it in the keli. That's step 2. How do you know that has to be in the right side? The pasuk where it says the kamatz hakoyin talks about the act of kmitza, but by putting it in a keli it doesn't say what side. For that, you need yad by mitzvah to tell you the right side. So you go, okay, that works according to the chachamim. Well, Rav Shimon, what about Rav Shimon? The loyboy kiddush kaimitz. Rav Shimon holds that you don't need it all by kmitza to put it into a keli. And ulaman, and even according to what it says, Rav Shimon nami boy kiddush kaimitz b'smoil achshuri machshur. He holds that you can use the left hand. So what does he need? He holds you don't have to put in a keli. Or if you do, you don't care what hand it is. So what does he do with the word yad by Mitzvah? He's yad, the Rav Alamali. What does he do with the word yad? What does he need it for? What does he need for at all? Even the kmitza atzma, what about the kmitza itself? But Rabbi Yehuda, he learns it elsewhere. He doesn't, okay, you're right. He does not learn from the word hakoinim alone. It means the right side. He doesn't need to teach me about putting it in a keli, because either he doesn't believe you put it in a keli at all, you just take it straight to the mizbeach with your hand, or he holds that you don't care about right and left hand. So the only possibility is to teach you kmitza. But Rab Shimon learns kmitza from somewhere else. So what does he do with the word yad? Where does he learn kmitza on the right side from? I'll tell you how he learns from. He learns it from Rabbi Yehuda ben Zevachim Daf. My time with Rab Shimon. He says, what's the logic of Shimon? The Amakra. What's the logic of Shimon? The Amakra. It says in Pasik the following. No, according to Reb Shimon, how you know commits to the right side? Koinim Mihol doesn't tell you the right side at all. You need etzba or yad. So it says in the pasuk that regarding that you shouldn't use chametz for your mincha, and then it says kodesh kadoshim hu, your mincha is holy. Kachatos ukaoshim. It's like a korban chatos, and it's like a korban oshim. Now, how in the world is a kmitza like a chatos, like a oshim? So in certain respects, if you do it in a certain way, it'll be like a chatos. If you do it in a certain way, it'll be like an oshim. So he explains. If you want to use only your hand, in other words, take it, because you don't need, let's say, a keli. You can go straight and bring it to the mizbeach. Then you should do it like karmel chatas. You take your finger and you sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach. It's just with your hands. If you want to do the activity with your hand, then it's like a chatas with the hand. And what do we know about a chatas? It has to be your right finger. I've learned before. That's boy, even also. So therefore, we know that the kmitza also has to be done with your right hand. If you want to go ahead and use a keli, in other words, you put it in the kmitza into a pot, then you're like a korban oshim, where there they took the pot and they sprinkled from the pot onto the mizbech. So he learns kmitza from chatas and oshim. So according to Rab Shimon, what does he use the word yad? Why do you need yad? And he doesn't believe that you need to put it in a pot, or if he does, he doesn't care right or left hand. So everybody right. You know the chiddush is, you know why we need yad? To tell you a specific kind of mincha, you still need the right hand. What is that? If the mincha of a sinner, and that the kmitza by the kohen there also should be done with the right hand. Why would you think otherwise? Because Salkal, I would have thought, said, we learned that the minchas chayte, he says, there's an argument whether it has oil or all the other things. What do you call it? And l'chayda, he should have to put oil, because why? Because in an avera he should get away cheaper. But we don't want his carbon to look nice. We want it to look quite mere, so he reflects on what he just did. So I would have thought that since everyone else does the right hand, maybe a minchas chayta also, we should, just like we don't put oil, we should dafki use the left hand to show how inferior he behaved. Or he comes up with small nami discussion should be kosher. Maybe we should even advocate using the left hand. Kamashla, no. You need yad to tell you that even a minchas chayta should be done with the right hand. We'll stop over here tomorrow.